Hey guys, so we're actually doing a live today. I haven't done a live in a while, but in this video, we're actually going to be talking about the Amazon FBA Done For You service. We're also going to be talking about the reopening to the doors to the Done For You trade service. So the Amazon FBA service, I've been doing Amazon myself for almost a decade. Those of you who know or do not know me or SupremeCommerce training, been in business a really long time. I've done extremely well selling on Amazon, but over the last few years, since 2016, when I founded SupremeCommerce Training, actually teaching people. And then in 2019 and 20, when we actually started the Done For You service and building Amazon businesses for our clients. We originally just started with the US marketplace. To build an Amazon FBA business, you do need funding, you need credit card, you need a registered business. When you're doing wholesale, which is what we do with the Done For You service, where we purchase products, we set up agreements on your behalf with the suppliers. And a lot of suppliers we've set up over the last many years of me selling on Amazon myself. So there's a lot of suppliers we already have access to. There's also going to be suppliers that we're constantly setting up new agreements with, suppliers that we've never actually created agreements with before on behalf of your company. So right now we have 35 existing clients, all doing Amazon FBA in both the US marketplace, and a handful of them are also taking advantage of the Canadian marketplace. Canadian marketplace margins are just about as good as USA. There's a little bit less competition in Canada, but it's still a really, really good marketplace to sell on via Amazon FBA, private label, whichever. But the Done For You service specifically is for Amazon FBA, and we're purchasing directly from wholesale vendors. Now in Canada, we do a little bit of retail or online arbitrage when we come across products that sell really fast. And if it's from a retail supplier, it's not against Amazon policy to buy in bulk from a retail supplier, as long as they are a valid supplier, like a valid company that doesn't sell fake products, right? So like a Walmart, they've been around a really long time. They're not known for selling fake products. The receipt from Walmart would literally pass if you're doing online arbitrage. Selling on Amazon and buying in bulk from retail suppliers is totally fine. It's the drop shipping aspect, which is not allowed and is 100% against Amazon policy. So buying from wholesale suppliers is the number one best step to building an Amazon FBA business. Rather, you're having us build it for you using our employee base, our infrastructure. We have our own warehouses. So a lot of people that provide Amazon Done For You services, one of the issues with a lot of the Done For You service providers, and it's not to say everybody, and I don't want to bash anybody that provides similar services, but one is going to be the cost. $30 or $40 or $50,000 for the Done For You Amazon service to me makes no sense. Number two is a lot of them are just outsourcing 100% of the work to an overseas team. So there's no real employee base. There's no real infrastructure. They don't have any locally based employees. So if it's a European-based service, they have no employees based in Europe. A North American-based service like mine, they don't have any North American-based employees. They only have employees out of like virtual assistants only. So for us, we actually have 4 full-time managers in Canada. We have a logistics manager. We have the USA side manager, Leslie. She's my fiance and life partner. She manages the entire US side. We have Matt, the Canadian logistics manager. We also have myself, even though I am the service owner and the company owner, I take very heavy part in the actual building of client stores. I spend 15 to 25 hours a week of my personal time going over final choices for products going into client stores. So that's another really good thing when it comes to our service is I'm also heavily involved in the client stores, all of them. And another thing with that being said, because of the amount of managers we have, including myself as one of them, and then we also have Josh, he's the warehouse manager for Canada. So with all the managers being the guys doing the brunt of the work, so we have our virtual assistants. We have 11 of them right now for our 35 clients. The 15 of us between our managers and employees and virtual assistants is more than enough to build a client stores. Now, what do the virtual assistants do? So the virtual assistants, all they do for us is create supplier agreements on behalf of the client. So your LLC, your corporation, whatever your company name, and they're creating the agreements on behalf of you as the client, and then shortlisting the good products. From there, we literally do 100% of the rest. The 4 of us, me, Leslie, Matt, and Josh, the 4 of us are the ones who make the final decision on every single product. We make the final decision on any inventory reconciliations, any decisions that need to be made that would go above, like, so if we need to say drop the price on a product and sell at break even, or we need to drop the price of a product to like 1 or 2% net margin, it's always something we talk to the client with, but it is our decision. We don't allow our VAs to do that. So we are very heavily involved in the building of all our client stores. Building an Amazon FBA business, like I said, you do need funds. Separate from the actual cost of the service, which ours is less than $20K. We also have an 80-20 option, which to my knowledge, nobody else even has that option. Logistically on our side, a 20% profit share for us makes sense. It takes us about a year for us to actually get into profit, separate from the service fee. So I'm very upfront and transparent with how our service works. The company keeps about 70% of the upfront service fee. 20 to 30% of the upfront service fee actually gets immediately distributed amongst all the managers and the employees. Even the virtual assistants, we have a virtual assistant manager. He also gets part of the profit share. And then the 20% profit share also gets distributed amongst all the managers and even the virtual assistants. So if we have one virtual assistant that shortlists and set up supplier agreements for 3 of our 35 client stores and growing, they would get profit on the products that sell, but from our profit share, not the client. So the company keeps 7 to 10%, depending if you do an 80-20 or 70-30 split. The company keeps 7 to 10%. The remaining of that profit share gets distributed amongst the managers, right? So, and that's not me included. I don't include myself with that. And then the virtual assistants also get 1 to 2% profit share on top of their salary pay. So everyone gets a salary, plus they also get incentivized on profit share. And I think although me and my company give up more on the front end and back end to the employees and the managers and the VAs, it just works out a lot better that way, because when you have people working on a business for you, and they're not only making money from a salary, they're also making money from the actions they're taking based on profit shares and other incentivizations, it's just going to be a way better process. Your store and your business is going to do a lot better when everybody is actually fully involved and everybody is not just focused on just clocking in and clocking out and doing their day-to-day tasks, right? So those are the super important things you definitely need to understand when you're looking for a done-for-you service. You need to have someone that's going to be very heavily involved. And sorry, I'm just very quickly ending a stream on my one device here. It wasn't working. It was glitching. So which one do we got here? Okay, cool. So with that being said, another thing to look for when having someone build a business, if someone can't get on like a live call with you and show you live results, right? Show you live results of a client store. So right now on Instagram, I can't really do that, but what I could do, first, obviously getting on a call with me, you're going to be able to see me log into the client portal and check out client stores. Obviously, I won't show you too much of their personal info, because if without their consent, I'm not going to give personal info or business info, but I can show you some of the sales results from a handful of clients that have given me permission. Aside from that, I don't know if I can do this here, but I do have a video previous to two or three videos before this one on YouTube, because I'm also streaming on YouTube as well as Instagram. If you go a couple videos back to the Amazon FBA automation video, it's the video before everything you need to know about selling on Amazon. It's the video before that, Amazon FBA done for you service. That video, I actually log in and show you live client results. Obviously, if you get on a call with me, I also can do the same thing. But another thing that you need to understand is when a service provider like myself has their own infrastructure, their own employee base, their own warehousing and all that, it's a reason it makes us a little bit picky with the clients we do take for the service. And the reason we become a little bit picky is because some people think it's a get-rich-quick process. Some people think that it's really easy to build the business and that all these other things. So they have like unrealistic expectations. So with those unrealistic expectations, those are normally the clients that we'd say no to, right? So if a client has very unrealistic expectations on how much money can I make in the first couple months, for example, I will normally tell you $0 to scare you away in hopes that I don't end up taking you as a client. Because if you're asking how much money can I make in the first couple months, you already have the wrong mindset when it comes to building a legitimate business from scratch. It takes time to build a business from scratch, right? You can't build a business from $0 to $10,000 a month profit in the first couple months. So building an Amazon business, rather you're having someone build it for you through a done-for-you service like ours with our own infrastructure and employee base and not just an overseas team only. You have to understand it takes time to build a business from scratch, right? So with that being said, another thing you need is money to build the business. So separate from the service fee, you're also going to need money to actually build the business. So if you're building the business yourself, you can start with a couple $100, a couple grand, whatever it is, whatever you want to, however much money you can get together to build your Amazon business with, that's really all you need. If you're doing it yourself, it's going to take you time to build the business. So for me, I started in 2014, almost 10 years ago, with a $500 student credit card. So I was 24, 25 at the time. Now I'm 33. I had no money in a $500 card. And after about a year and a half, I kept using my card so religiously for the business that I went from $500 in credit to $3,000 to $8,000 to $20,000 to $80,000 in credit cards and working capital that I was able to utilize for my Amazon business. Now, at that time, if I knew now, if I could go back then and with what I know now, I would have been able to make even more money. But the main issue, it's not actually an issue. The main thing for people to understand is if you don't have a lot of cash for the business, but you got a lot of working capital via credit cards, credit lines, etc., it's still perfect to build an Amazon business. You don't need cash to build an Amazon business. It's a physical product business and you're reselling inventory that if you're selling brand name stuff like how we do it, the stuff you're listing, you're going to sell, right? Especially if you pay for the done for you service and we're building it for you, the products are going to sell inevitably. So knowing that, using credit cards for an Amazon business, like I did $0 and a $500 card, and just under 2 years later, I had $80,000 in credit cards, and I literally just used those for the business. After about 2 years, I was doing $50,000 to $60,000 a month in sales. I was making $7,000 or $8,000 a month profit. But because Amazon pays biweekly, every biweekly cash out, I'd say get $15,000 to $25,000 back from Amazon. I'd still be negative $20,000 to $30,000 on my credit card. So, and as you know, every 21 days, credit cards accumulate interest, and then you have interest payments. So 20% a year is 1.5% a month in interest. 1.5% on 20 or 30 grand is $300 or $450 a month in interest. But I was making $7,000 to $8,000 a month in profit back in 2016, about 2 years after I started my Amazon business, just using credit cards. So I had a few $100s a month in interest, $30 a month for some software, and a couple $100s a month or a few $100s a month for my first full-time virtual assistant that helped me build the business. So my overhead was like $700 including interest, but I was making $7,000 or $8,000 a month profit. I didn't have to use any of my own money, all credit cards. I also had cash back on one of the credit cards, and I was using that as additional profit at the end of the year. That cash back was all mine to use how I wanted. So you can use credit cards to build the business. But if you could go back and take my advice now, if you're just starting an Amazon business or you're looking at paying for a done-for-you service now, if you can get a 0% APR credit card, so then you have no interest to pay, plus it's a cashback card, that's going to be the way you make the most money building an Amazon business or any other e-com business where you need a lot of capital. Having 0 interest means the money's essentially free, right? If you have cash, you don't pay interest on that. If you have a 0% APR card for the first 12 to 18 months, that's technically quote unquote free money you can build a business with. So for me, if I could go back 8.5 years when I started in 2014 and use 0% APR cards, I wouldn't have had to pay that interest. One good thing is interest is a write-off. So when you have interest, you can write it off as an expense, right? But knowing that I was making $7,000 or $8,000 a month, but I had about $300-400 a month in interest that I had to pay. To me, that couple $100 a month in interest was cost of doing business, right? That money was free to me. It was coming from credit cards. I didn't have to leverage my own money. I leveraged debt to build a massively successful Amazon business. I did not have to use any of my own cash. So that is the beauty of credit cards, credit lines. But the best scenario and the best advice I can give you if you're looking at having me build an Amazon business for you or learn from me and have me show you is using credit cards is totally fine. You can build the business massively, literally just on credit. Yeah, you're going to have some interest to pay, especially if you don't have a 0% APR card. And let's say you apply for a 0% APR card and you can't get one now, eventually you'll be able to once you start to use your card now regularly for business, right? The more you use your card, the more the bank likes you. You're paying them interest. They're going, hey, we're making profit off this guy. He's stupid and he keeps using his card so much. What they don't realize is you're not a traditional person, which is like 98% of people that uses their credit card, goes in debt and they pay the interest and they struggle to pay it with their job's money, right? Their 9-to-5 money. You're using it to build a business with. So you're going to be able to make a lot of money leveraging debt and credit cards to build that business. And who gives a shit about the interest? Because if you build the business large enough, you're always going to be making more profit than you will be paying in interest. So if you build the business to $10,000 a month in sales and it costs you $25,000 in inventory. So if you got $25K in inventory in the store and you're doing about $10,000 a month in sales, so let's say you're making $1,400 or $1,500 a month in profit. Interest on that $25K, well, every 2 weeks, you're going to be getting a $4,000 or $5,000 payment from Amazon. So normally your card will probably be negative 18 or 20K at any given time. Doing $10,000 a month and you got $25,000 in the business, you'll probably be paying interest on about 20K of that. 1.5% interest on 20K is about, what is that, $300? But if you're making $1,500 a month, that's a lot more than the cost of the interest, right? $300 for interest, $1,500 profit. So really it's $1,200 net profit. You also have a $300 a month write-off now for the business to bring your income down, and I'll help lower your taxes. So there's a lot of benefits to using and leveraging credit for any type of business whatsoever that requires funding. The only thing I don't recommend is leveraging debt to go invest in a stock or a meme coin. Obviously, you don't want to do that. But that's the gist of building an Amazon business. I always recommend, if you want to build the business massively in the first 2 years, like to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month profit, upwards of $10,000 a month profit by like the end of the second year, which is very doable. You can actually do more than that, but conservatively, if you go for 5 to 10 grand a month in a year and a half, 2 years, I would recommend having at least 30 to 60K working cap. For the first year, you're going to want to use 40 or 50 of that towards the business. And in the second year, you're going to want to have more like 60 to 80K. Because if you want to build a business to $20,000 a month in sales and $2,000, maybe $3,500 a month profit on the high end, so 20K in sales, you need to have 2 to 2.5 times more money available to purchase inventory to generate 20 grand in sales. If you want to generate 20 grand in sales, you need 40 to 50K available working cap for inventory to be able to generate that much sales in a 30-day period and sustain it, right? So you want to have 2 to 2.5 times the available working cap versus how much sales you anticipate generating on Amazon. So if that makes sense, 2 years from now, if you want to do $50,000 a month and $7,000 a month profit, how much money do you need? At least 80, 90K up to 120, 130. You're probably thinking, how the hell do I get that much money? Well, think about it. In 2014, I had $500 credit card. In 2016, I had $80,000. I was in my 20s. I had a part-time job. I had no reason for the banks to give me this much money. I had like no credit. I had nothing to establish credit for me. I didn't have a home. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have a car being financed. I had a junker car I had owned in cash. You know what I mean? 10 years ago, I didn't have anything that would establish good credit. So why did the bank give me so much more money? Because I started to use the credit card religiously for purchasing inventory on Amazon. Once they seen that, every 3 or 6 months, every 6 months max, I'd get an email from CIBC Bank. You obviously want to have a good bank that's very small business friendly. There's some banks that are trash. Make sure you're using a good bank. Make sure you use more than one bank and more than one credit card. Apply for a bunch. Get as many as you can, because if you're using it for an Amazon business, it's going to enable you to make more money and scale the business larger. Now, if you already have all these resources, perfect. Next thing you want to do is go for the 0% APR cards with cashback, because then you're paying 0% interest and then you're getting cashback on top of that. The next best option for working capital for an Amazon business, separate from 0% APR cards, obviously is cash, your own money. Now, I say 0% APR cards are better than your own cash, because a 0% APR card is not even your money. So you don't even got to touch your own money. Your own money is the next best option. Third best option is a line of credit or a credit line. It's like a business loan, but it's one that you don't just get in one lump sum, and then you have to start making monthly payments on it. A credit line or a line of credit from a business bank or a bank in general is a line of credit. They give you the lump sum, but you can pull from it and use it as you please. So if you get a $20,000 line of credit and you take the money and put it on your credit card, 5 grand of it, you use 5 grand for inventory, right? You're not using all 20K. So, and those are normally 5 or 6% interest, 3 times cheaper than a standard credit card interest rate. So it's the second best form of credit for building an Amazon business. Separate from that, building an Amazon business really is just a matter of time. So what we look for in a client when we're building a business for somebody is, because we have our own infrastructure, our own employees, our own warehousing, we're not just outsourcing everything overseas for cost us nothing. It cost me about $21,000 a month to actually run this business, to build the business for clients, because I have my own infrastructure. So if you're looking to have someone build a done-for-you Amazon business for you, I would say, and this obviously is going to sound biased because I have my own infrastructure, but if I was to go as unbiased as possible and say, I'm looking for someone to build me a business, and then I have a guy who just outsources everything to Bangladesh, or I have a guy who has his own warehouse, his own local employees, and maybe it costs him a lot more money, he's probably going to be a lot more serious about building people's fucking businesses for them, because he's clearly taking it serious. He's got his own warehouse. He's got legitimate employees with full-time wages. He's not just trying to off everything over to some overseas company for dirt cheap, right? That's one of the huge indicators for me if I was looking for a service myself. So when I do that, that's how I do business. If I'm looking for a service, someone to serve me in some sort of business that maybe I'm not already making money in, and I'd rather just pay someone to do it for me, that's the beauty of a done-for-you service. Those are some of the things I'm going to look for. Someone who's got their own infrastructure, someone who has more than 1 to 2 years experience. So like, if some of these guys don't even sell on Amazon and don't even do the things that they are promoting. So another thing is, you need to look at someone's track record. So Dio, if you're looking for someone to build the done for you service, most people charge 30, 40K. I charge 16 to 19K for a 70, 30 or an 80, 20 profit share as of right now. Can't tell you what the price would be mid to late 2023 or beyond. But as of late 2022, it is 16K for 70, 30, 19K, 80, 20. It's a lifetime contract. We build the business for you for that upfront fee. And then that ongoing small profit share we take. That's the justification for us to continue to work for you full time and build the business for you using my own employees, my own infrastructure, my own warehouses and all that. It actually cost me $550 to $750 a month USD to run every single client's store for them, leveraging my own infrastructure and employees. We have each client contribute a couple $100s a month towards that. And that's why I said it takes us a year to become profitable with our 20 or 30%. It's going to take a client. Your original, like your actual profit is your green territory. When you're out of the red and into the green is when you've got your initial investment back. So if you did 16K for 70, 30, and in the first 15 months, you made 17 grand net profit. You now have made $1,000 more than your initial investment. You got your money back. Now you're purely in profit, right? And if you're making $3,000, $4,000 a month by then as well, you're now in the green and you now have an automated business of at least 3 or 4 grand a month profit. That's mostly pending on you having the available working cap to handle a $20,000 or $30,000 a month in sales, right? That's another very, very important thing. So building an Amazon business long-term and scaling it big, you need to have money to actually build the business. Otherwise, if you have a lot less than that, you can do it yourself. Like I said, I started with $500 to $1,000 and no money, and I built the business massively. I've done over $10 million in sales since I started selling on Amazon and almost $2 million profit. And I started with $0 and a $500 credit card. 2 years later, I had $80,000 in credit. Another year after that, I had about $150,000 in credit. I used all of it for the business. My third year, I was doing about $90,000 a month, $15,000 a month profit, literally just using credit cards, lines of credit, whatever the banks would give me, almost none of my own money. So that is how building an Amazon business works. If you do it yourself, like I said, you can do it for a lot less. The problem is not everybody has the time to build the business. That's where the done for you service comes in. But if you're going to pay someone to build the business for you, it makes sense you're going to have to pay them a fee. 10 million in gross and 2 million in profit deal, correct. So about an 18 or a 20% margin. My first 5 years of selling on Amazon, I did a lot of drop shipping. My margins were actually well above 20%. Times have changed. You can't drop ship as easily anymore. You cannot drop ship from retail suppliers either. You'll lose your business faster than you started it. And the chances of you getting the store back doing retail drop ship are very slim. Now, when you do an Amazon FBA and sending the products in bulk to Amazon fulfillment centers and you're buying from valid suppliers, which is what we do with the Done For You service, that's the only sustainable, super long-term sustainable way of building the business. It's that and private label. Now, what's the difference between a wholesale and private label? So wholesale, you're reselling. That's right, hunger. Yeah, I definitely went hard my first few years of building my business. I had a lot of reasons to do so, right? Sick old parents, and I didn't want to work in the really shitty jobs that I had back then. I just wanted something for myself. So I worked tirelessly until I got it. And I had my parents to think of too. They were in their mid to late 60s. They're in their mid 70s now. And I've been able to help them, which is the biggest blessing. But those are some of the motivating factors for me. Now, if I could go back to 2014 and I had the money to pay somebody, and let's say I was a real estate guy or a day trader, and I was like, I really want to make money with Amazon, but I don't want to spend 5-10 hours a day fucking building the thing. I would pay someone to do it for me if I had the funds. If I didn't have the funds, I would do it myself for the first 6 months, a year and a half. And once I had 40 or 50K, I would then have someone else do it for me or hire my own team of VAs and employees to build the business for me. That's what I did in 2016, 2017. I started in 2014, and by late 2016, I hired my first VA. And then in 2018, 2019, I actually had people start to ask me, hey, I'm doing really good with your training. You've taught me well. I'm doing so good on Amazon, but I'm just having a hard time keeping up and building the business further. Can you please do it for me? And we'll pay you the done for you service fee. And I said no at first. To all the students that asked me, I kept saying no because I don't got the time. I'm building my own businesses, and then I'm also spending time mentoring and teaching you guys. I don't really have much time outside of that. But then eventually I had a few people that started helping me with my business that were actually in my life. So not just a virtual assistant, but real people like my fiance, my nephew, my friends, people that actually helped me build these businesses that are now managers of the entire service themselves. So Matt, Josh, Leslie, myself, and then I have a team of 11 VAs that help just with a short listing of products from suppliers. So we're able to do extremely well building client stores. So eventually I said yes, and I took my first handful of clients that were originally students of mine. Those were the first clients that I had. And we did a bit of drop shipping and wholesale. It's a tumultuous path doing drop ship. In 2020, we completely got rid of drop shipping and just completely switched to wholesale FBA. So along this whole time, my 8.5 years in e-commerce, I've also been doing day trading since 2016. I started to dabble with it. 2016, 17, and 18, I failed as a day trader, literally made no money. I lost money. I don't know, I think I lost 5 or 6 grand in the first year. And then I lost almost 10 grand in the second year. My third year, which would have been 2019, I finally developed a profitable trading strategy, scalp strategy. And crazily enough, my scalp strategy is called the flawless entry. I also teach it once I mastered it, and I used it for about a year. So all of 2019, and then in the very beginning of 2020, I thought this strategy is fucking insane. I'm winning more than 75 to 80% of my trades with a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio minimum, which is what the average good trader goes for. But most retail traders are not good traders. They're at best winning 50% of their trades, which is not a bad thing if you have at least a 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio, because then you're going to be making more money than you're losing, even if you're just winning half your trades. But I win 75 to 80% of my scalp trades with a 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 risk to reward. And I've been doing it since 2020. So in 2020, I actually launched, which is the second part of why I'm doing this video, separate from the Amazon Done For You service, is the reopening of the doors to our Done For You trading service, like a PAMM service, where you invest money into the trade account, you pay a small service fee, and then I trade for you indefinitely. Lifetime contract, just like Amazon. I will trade for you indefinitely. So since 2020, I took 3 clients that were existing students of mine, and closed the doors almost immediately because I said I needed to work with a handful of clients first before I make this a full-fledged service. I did that for 2 fucking years. And this is the difference between me and a lot of these other guys. There's people that go, hey, Amazon's a cool business model, and I see these people charging 50 grand up front for the service. I want someone to help me do that today. And they don't even know what the fuck they're doing. They're just like, I just want to make this money. It's all about the money to them. Or someone who's been selling on Amazon for a little while and they go, oh, I see everybody else charges 30 to 40 grand for the service. And when I launched my service, I waited for years. For 2019, right, was like the first time I took a Done For You service client. I'd already been selling on Amazon for 5 years. And then in 2020, trading, I'd already been trading for 3 years and 1 year profitable, 1 full solid year before, 2 years before that as a strategy. I both teach it. I've been teaching it since 2020 when I launched the trade service, as well as my SupremeCommerce FX Mastery training. But with the trade service, it's been about 25% a year since 2020. In the last 4 or 5 months, I've really been finessing my flawless entry strategy. So the 15 to 25 hours a week I spend helping build clients' Amazon stores, I'm basically spending the rest of the time answering client questions, answering students' questions, mentoring the students that we have in SupremeCommerce training, and then day trading. And also building YouTube channels. So I've been doing YouTube for 3 years, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is Amazon and the reopening of the trade service. If you want to ask me about YouTube, you can always send me a message. We're currently not taking any more clients. We only have a handful. But the trade service, like I said, 25% a year for the last 2 years. But for the last 4 to 5 months, I've been having months of 5%, 8%, even 10, 15% months consistently. So with the reopening of the trade service, which I literally just did in November 2022, we reopened the doors to the Done For You trading service. And the target is 4 to 8% a month, sometimes more, but it's never guaranteed. Sometimes we could have a losing month of a couple percent, right? It happens. Sometimes we could have a 3% month. So the 4 to 8% is not guaranteed, but I am confident enough to be able to give that as data to a new client when they sign up for the trade services. That's our target. Sometimes we exceed it, sometimes we don't, but on average for last 5 months, I've been doing 4 to 8% a month, sometimes more. So instead of going for 2 to 3% a month like we were in 2020, we basically doubled that target. So now our target's 50 to 90% a year. And I'm very confident we're going to do it because I've already been doing it for time. You know what I mean? I test it and I make sure I'm actually doing it for a lengthy period of time myself before I offer it to somebody else, before I teach it or provide a related service. So with that being said, the Done For You trade service, I can't discuss pricing on a live video. You have to send me a message because it could be, I don't know when you're watching this video. So it could be at a way later date you're watching it. Who knows if prices have changed or not. I do know it's a lot less expensive than the Amazon service because you don't have to pay me for my employees. You don't have to pay me for warehousing in my infrastructure. I do all the trades myself. I spend 8 to 12 hours a week trading. Might not seem like a lot, but 1 to 3 hours a day is all you need. And that's what I do. And I do all the trades myself, Monday to Thursday. I don't touch Fridays. On my personal trade accounts, I'll occasionally do a trade on a Friday, but I don't do it with client money. Also, up to your first $10,000 is protected and insured and guaranteed by me. So if you would put 10K in the trade account, that's protected by me. So if somehow the account gets blown or the broker disappears and robs everybody for all their money, if you have up to 10K in there, that's protected by me. Now, obviously, I don't use any brokers that aren't regulated and haven't been around a really long time. So the chances of that happening are less than like a fraction of a percent. But that's just to give a client a little bit of security. And our target is 4 to 8%. And we've been doing 25% a year for the last 2 years. So the worst case scenario is we only do another 25% a year. And if you take 25% in a year, I guarantee there isn't anywhere you can go where you can get that. Not a bank, not an RRSP, not a mutual fund. Even private investors are getting anywhere from like 6 to 12% a year, maybe 15% if you have a really good private investor. But they don't guarantee funds. They don't protect funds. And then another difference between the done-for-you trade service and let's say investing into a hedge fund or a private investor, a lot of these hedge funds will give you a cap rate. So a max cap, sorry, not a cap rate, a cap of how much of the gains per month they actually give their clients. And it's normally in the fine print. So they don't normally tell you this up front. But let's say their target is 3% a month and they have a 10% month. Okay? They have a 10% month. Well, if they tell you the target's 2 to 3% a month, and in their fine print, it says you're only privy to the maximum allowable, which is 3% a month. So if you give them your money to invest and trade for you, and they have a 10% month, they don't give and share with you all of the realized gains, not all the time. A lot of hedge funds or private investors will only give you what they say they can get you as a maximum, not a minimum, and not all realized gains are always shared with clients. Now, that's not every service or every private investment service in existence. There's probably private investors that give the full gains to the client, which is the right thing to do. But I do know funds. I even know real estate investment funds where they give you a monthly target. And if they make more than that, they don't tell you and they don't fucking give it to you. My trades are all tracked on my FX book for the clients. So for all client trade accounts, you can track it all directly on my FX book. As soon as you become a client, you get access to that my FX books that is tailored to your trade account because I have multiple clients. I have a couple trade accounts. So by the time we hit the max for one single trade account and a handful of clients, we then open up another trade account for another handful of clients. And I correlate and I copy trade within my own trade accounts for all clients. So with that being said, that's how the service works. So if we have, let's say, a 20% month, right? An insane month where we have 20% gains, you're going to be able to see that, one, on my FX book, two, in the realized gains. And in our contract, it literally says any realized gains that are had by me while I trade for you, 100% of those gains are shared with the client. Nothing is hidden and all is shown to the client. All gains are shared. So the trade service has an 80-20 profit share, a 70-30, and a 60-40. Obviously, if you pay us 40%, the upfront fee is very nominal. It's a lot smaller. And for those who want to have a larger part of the profit, they just pay a little bit of a larger service fee. And it's an indefinite lifetime contract. So I will trade for you indefinitely with a minimum target of 25% a year, which we've proven to do for the last 2 years. But we're actually trying to do anywhere from 50 to 90% a year. And I'm constantly improving and getting better at that. At my scalp strategy that I use, the flawless entry strategy. So I just wanted to announce the reopening of the doors for the trade service. I've taken a handful of clients since we relaunched it, and I'm probably into January, February 2023, going to be taking another 5 to 10 clients. I might close the doors early 2023. So if this is after Jan, Feb 2023, just send me a message and I'll let you know if the service is available to you or not. But with that being said, that is the information I wanted to share with the Amazon FBA service, as well as the reopening of the done-for-you trade service. Now, any questions you guys have, you can always drop them below. You can also send me a message. My Facebook link is going to be in this chat in the description of this video below, as well as here on Instagram. You're going to be able to just message me on rather Facebook or Instagram. I see we have one last question here. Nevin, will we be able to study your strategy or only done-for-you trading? SupremeCommerce FX Mastery Trading is only a couple $100, and I teach you every single strategy that I use to trade, including both of the flawless entry trade strategies. So the strategies that I use to do 5 to 15% a month on my personal accounts and 4 to 8% a month for clients, I teach that as well for a couple $100 for lifetime access and then my mentorship. So again, if you have the time to do it yourself, you're going to save a lot of money. But if you're the investor type and you'd rather just invest and not have to do any of the work yourself, that's where my services come in for you, where I'll do it all for you. So you just have to send me a message and let me know. With that being said, any questions you guys have, obviously just send me a message and I will talk to you later. Have a good one.